this is like a vlog, not really though. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to take you through my training. I'm starting my new mesocycle today, so I'm training in a few hours. And basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a mesocycle is a sort of 4 to 6 week long cycle generally. However, it's broken up with a deload. So a mesocycle is just a long period of training, and then you'll lay your training out over the mesocycle. Generally you do it before you start the mesocycle. But adaptations, you change it as you go along. So yeah, so generally the general focus is we're trying to, my only goal is hypertrophy. So there's one exercise within this where I'm trying to get just stronger, just from an experimental point of view, see how we go, see if it has any effect on hypertrophy. But although, you know, you can't really take that one aspect and say that was what caused the hypertrophy. But alas, that is what we are doing. So I'm running a push-pull split. So that sounds a bit weird, like, wow, are you doing legs? So this was originally taught to me by my previous coach, Revivestronger. Basically what we're doing is, and this is not necessarily superior, this is just like a useful way to train. This is what I personally do. I find it works for me well. The push day basically encompasses everything from shoulders to chest to quads, calves, etc. Those are sort of the main groups we do on a push day. And then on a pull day, we're doing more things like your back muscles. So things like your lats, your traps, your erectors. So everything on the back of your body and everything on the front of your body is on a push day. So on a push day, it's the front of your body. On a pull day, it's the back of your body, generally. So I mean, these are general rules. There's always going to be crossover. There doesn't need to be any like absolutes within this kind of stuff. It's just general rules of thumb. So I thought I'd just run you through the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing them. So we'll look at my push day to start. So we're doing a banded leg press to start, and with a dead stop at the bottom. So that just means I'm pausing at the bottom on the sort of the hooks that stop you from going too deep, or sort of the safety bar. So I'm pausing at the bottom purely just to change it up a bit, because I've done banded leg press for 3 mesocycles in a row. So I'm just all that is just changing it up. I'm starting with 2 sets, and I'm doing a rep range of 8 to 10 reps. So a rep range, I'm not sure how much I should explain stuff, but the first week we have a rep range. So the rep range will stay constant with the mesocycle. The things that will change will be the RIR, or reps in reserve. So reps in reserve is basically, it's basically just the amount of reps you have before you fail. So we're starting off at quite far from failure, and it's sort of, you're just getting yourself ready for the loads. Like when you're at this RIR, you're not really overloading too much, but as long as your RPE, which is another measure of intensity, try not to complicate this too much. Your RPE is rate of perceived exertion, so how hard it was out of 10. As long as your RPE, this is what the research shows, is above around a 6, you're going to make progress. So, but the main thing that we're trying to do with this is we're trying to increase your volume over time. So increasing your volume over time, basically we have volume landmarks as set out by Mike Israetel. You have your MRV, your maximum recoverable volume, you have your maximum effective volume, your minimum effective volume, and then you have your maintenance volume. So between that, and there's also maximal adaptive volume. I'm not too sure what that is. I need to keep doing some reading, but yeah, basically we're trying to juggle, but we're trying to go definitely above maintenance volume for the majority of body parts, especially for what I'm doing. That's what I'll be doing. And then above MEV. So we're trying to stay anywhere between MEV and MRV. So anywhere in there. And the way we do that is we just progress closer and closer to MRV over the mesocycle. Yeah, and that's generally on like a weekly basis. The way we mainly progress is you add weight, obviously, but then you can also add reps and you can add sets. So for instance, say on my banded leg press with a dead stop, I was doing 100 kilos. Say if I did 2 sets one week and I got 10 reps on both sets, I could then add another set, or if I had only gotten 8 reps on both sets, or 8 reps and 7 reps or something, then I could try and get more reps. But if you max out the rep range, it's a good idea to add another set or just add more weight, depending on what you want to do. It depends on so many factors. So, banded leg press. I just love it as a movement. I've talked about it before in my other video. I'll try and put it up here. Basically, that video we talked about my 3 favorite exercises for people with scoliosis. These exercises work well for me, but the main thing is I'm just getting the movement in the specific joints that I'm trying to strengthen the muscles that move those joints. So you don't need to do a banded leg press. You could do a squat, you could do a hack squat, you could do an unbanded leg press, you could do a bunch of a Smith machine feet forward squat, another fantastic one, a range of things. You just need to work the target muscles, and then you can do it in whatever kind of split you want. You could do a push-pull legs, a pull-push legs, you could do upper-lower, you could do upper-lower push-pull legs, whatever the fuck you want to do. You could do full body 5 times a week, whatever you want to do. And then the next exercise I'm doing is a dumbbell floor press. It's simply just a floor press. So your dumbbells, I just do it because I find when I bench press frequently, I will get injuries and it just doesn't feel too good. So I'm trying to work around that. Yeah, and it just feels good for me. Everything else on there is relatively self-explanatory, nothing too much to take into account there. So that's basically push A, and then on pull A, which was my first pull day, I have a back extension, just using the reason I've got body weight in the rep range there is because I'm not going to add weight on this, I'm just going to do it with body weight, and it's kind of a warm-up for me. I'm not really trying to tax the muscles, but it depends what rep range we end up getting to, and I'm trying to make it relatively hard, and it's sort of just getting me ready for hip thrusts. So I'm starting with 2 sets of that, and then the next thing I'm doing is a hip thrust. So hip thrusts are fantastic for building the glutes. They're also quite heavy on the quads. I'm doing a rep range of 6 to 8 just because I love the movement. I want to do it nice and heavy. That's a relatively low rep range for hypertrophy. Like, you wouldn't go much lower than that, I think. Although it's not what I'm sticking to in this program. Ooh. Yeah, so hip thrusts, fantastic exercise, very good. And then I'm just doing some rows. A lot of it is pretty standard. You can see on the program here. This program isn't necessarily the best program in the world. It's just something I'm trying. It's probably hitting a lot of the nails in the head, but the main thing we're trying to do is just experiment, see what works for you, and then go. And you're trying to learn the principles and apply the principles. That's the main thing. And then I have push B and pull B. So in push B, we've got another banded leg press, this time without the dead stop, just again to keep that novelty. And I'm trying out the dead stop, so I don't want to do it on both days. And then a really interesting thing that I'm doing here is I'm doing a barbell bench press, just 1 set to start, so I can add sets as I go on if it feels okay. See how we go. We might completely take it out of the program, but we'll see. And I'm doing it in a rep range of 3 to 5. So this is the only thing I'm doing. I'm just experimenting around with trying to get stronger. So I'm just playing in these rep ranges, seeing how we go. And then that's followed up by incline dumbbell press, incline cable fly, tons of things like that. There's lots of things you can do. Yeah, pretty much here I'm doing calves every day. That's another notable thing. Just because I want to grow my calves, increase volume, I want to take them closer to their MRV, do a lot of volume with them. Yeah, and then with my pull B, my back extension, again doing back extension primarily for a warm-up, also just to get good at it, and it's just a good movement for me. We'll see if I go heavier on it. I don't think so. I think I'm just going to do, every time I try and add weight, it just doesn't quite feel that good. But we'll see how we go. I quite like the idea of just doing it with body weight. And then I'm doing a hex bar RDL just because it feels quite good for me, in the 8 to 10 rep range. And then I'm doing bent over dumbbell rows, so that's in the 6 to 8 rep range, just because I think it's a little more loading. And then also I really like the row and it feels quite good. And I'm thinking I'm going to have that with my forehead on a bench. or sort of a raised up pad or something, just to stabilize myself. You can see in one of my recent Instagram videos on the Hypertrophy Hub, I talked about that. And then I've just got classic stuff like bicep curls, seated calf raises, face pull. This whole program is dedicated primarily just to hypertrophy, except for that, except for the one bit where I'm doing bench press, just because I'm a bro. And then week 2, we're progressing to 2 to 3 reps in reserve. So relatively big progression. Yeah, and then week 3, we're doing 2 reps in reserve. Week 4, 1 to 2. And then week 5, if we make it that far, 1 to 0 reps in reserve. So basically it just allows you to step the volume up and step the intensity up as you go on, instead of having the fixed intensity. There's a lot of debate online around basically failure training versus reps in reserve training. This is how I like to train. I just think it allows you to accrue more volume. But I think both styles can work. If you want to just go to failure every set, that's cool. But I would leave some reps in the tank for the majority of your training. I think that's probably a better idea. Just because you don't need to go to that intensity, and it's I kind of think it's might be quicker, but it's more dangerous for sure, I would say. And it's just, it's so taxing for what degree of gains, when I think you could probably make more gains this way. Like maybe on a per rep basis it's more useful, but this is not a game where we're restricted per rep. But yeah, that's my training currently. Yeah, see you in the gym.